The Big Idea Forum, in association with
Artificial intelligence, it's here. AI is a driving force that is reshaping industries and societies across the globe. For a nation as diverse and dynamic as Indonesia, AI can drive innovation, supercharge industries, and revolutionize how we live, work, and learn. The road to AI isn't without obstacles. The digital divide between our cities and rural areas is real, and if we're not careful, this gap could widen. Another critical challenge is the gap in AI expertise and digital literacy. Regulatory and ethical concerns, from data privacy to job displacement, must be addressed with urgency and care. But beyond the challenges lie extraordinary opportunities. AI has the potential to revolutionize key sectors like healthcare, education, and agriculture. It can drive economic growth, improve public services, and even help us tackle climate change. To ensure AI's benefits are felt by all, we need inclusive and forward-thinking policies. Collaboration between the public and private sector is essential to drive a comprehensive AI strategy for Indonesia. By focusing on education, fostering innovation, and engaging our communities, we can build a future where AI serves the greater good. The Big Idea Forum on the Age of AI is a pivotal platform. It brings together industry leaders, regulators, and experts to strategize and find solutions. As we stand on the brink of a new technological era, the choices we make today will shape Indonesia's future for generations to come. AI offers us unprecedented possibilities. We can harness the power of AI to build a brighter, more inclusive future for all.
Hello and welcome to the Big Idea Forum. I am Desi Anwar, the AI version. It is my honor and pleasure to be the host of this talk show. In a world where technology advances at an unprecedented pace, we find ourselves at the dawn of a new era, an age dominated by artificial intelligence. The allure of AI is undeniable. It promises efficiency, creativity, and solutions to problems that have long plagued humanity. But what is the cost of this convenience? As we integrate AI into the very core of our existence, we must ask ourselves, what are we giving up? Jobs, privacy, and even our autonomy are at risk. It's easy to get lost in the promises of technology, but we must not forget to pause, to reflect. AI is a tool, a powerful one, but it is up to us to decide how it shapes our future. It's not just about the technology, it's about the values we choose to uphold as a society. In the end, the age of AI is not something to fear, but something to approach with wisdom and care.
As you can see, AI is already taking over my job. That was just pure AI version of me. Isn't it quite scary if you think about it, right? Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure to welcome all of you to today's edition of the Big Idea Forum. And our topic for today is one that sits at the intersection of technology, ethics, and our collective future. The age of AI. Should we be afraid? And here we have guests from the tech industry as well as startups and of course friends of the Big Idea Forum. And as we embrace the promise of AI, we must also navigate its challenges, ensuring that the benefits of this powerful technology are shared by all. And today we're honored to be joined by a very distinguished panel of experts who will share their insights on this complex and rapidly evolving subject. And first of all, we have Pak Boni Pujianto, Director for Digital Economy from the Ministry of Communications and Informatics. Pak Boni, very, very big welcome. And we hope that the ministry plays a pivotal role in shaping Indonesia's digital landscape. Next, we have Bu Maki Katsuno Hayashikawa, Director of the UNESCO Regional Office in Jakarta. And we hope Bu Maki will bring a global perspective on education and ethics in the age of AI. Bu Maki, a very big welcome to you. And we're also pleased to welcome Vikram Sinha, President Director and CEO of Indosat Ooredoo Hutchison. And Indosat is at the forefront of the telecommunications revolution in Indonesia. Pak Vikram, a very warm welcome to you. And we also have Ayu Purwaryanti, an AI principal researcher from ITB. And Ayu joins us to share her academic expertise and research on AI technologies. Mbak Ayu, also very big welcome to you. And last but not least, Miklos Sunario, a young man, a CEO of the startup Edu Beyond, an AI developer, and the future of Indonesia to come, I'm sure. Pioneering in educational innovations using artificial intelligence. Miklos, very big welcome. Big hands, everybody, please, for our speakers. Let's get the energy going. And as this is also a platform for collaboration, there will also be an opportunity for all of you here to comment and ask questions to our panelists. So let's, without further ado, start this discussion. And to set the stage for our discussion, I'd now like to invite Pak Boni. Pak Boni is our regulator, to share his perspective on the state of AI in Indonesia and how very important this is. Can we balance innovation with responsibility? Pak Boni, tell us a little bit. Where is Indonesia heading in terms of our AI development?
Thank you, Budesi. Yeah, as you has already mentioned, so Cominfo play a pivotal role because we are now heading to the new technology AI in every sectors. And the key important role is also from the young generation, for example, because they are the spearhead of innovation from the startup. We clearly understand because the implementation of AI can be adapted to many sectors, but also expanding to many industry. So startup could be a part of it, and that's why the Cominfo also prepare what we call the AI ethics. This is not policy. I mean, it's not a regulation, but this is just the initiate of the how we should conduct the AI in our society. Because we have to consider it's because AI will utilize a lot of data. So we have to consider several laws and regulation as a part of the AI that should be considered, such as law number 11, 2008 is about information and transaction electronics, and with all the amendments, and also concerning personal data protection. Otherwise, whenever the data has been collected and hopefully it's not being used for profiling personal data. That's why we have to consider that by circulator letters number 9, 2023, the ethic and for the artificial intelligence, this is the guidelines about AI should be treated and should be considered for all the developers and the industry.
So these are recommendations at this stage, or is this a...
Actually, from the circular letter, this is like we explain about the definition of AI. And then there is also general guidance, because there is a value, the ethics, and then also the responsibilities of how we utilize the AI in the industry and within our society.
But Boni, could you tell us a little bit, is there some kind of national strategy for AI in Indonesia, and are there discussions, heading towards that will come up with some kind of, very clear, whether it's guardrails or regulations or policies that, because we have a new government coming up, and something that the new government can actually prioritize when it comes to dealing with AI?
We haven't yet made what we call like regulation or policy on the AI, but we have a national strategy made by BRIN in the beginning. So it is like a guidelines how we should set up the AI for the future, because the benefit of AI would be very huge, cross-cutting issue and also multidisciplinary. So maybe from the perspective of academic, they will explain more detail why we have to prepare digital talent. This is the key point to enhance the implementation of AI.
It's interesting that you mentioned multidisciplinary, and I'd like to actually know the role of the Ministry of Communications and Information Technology in regards with the developing and the use of AI. How does that fit in? Because as we can see, AI exists in all areas of society and industries.
Yeah, because the basic knowledge for the AI mostly based on the STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. From the Ministry of Cominfo, we provide what we call digital talent scholarship. This is like a program for skilled labor, fresh graduate, technician, or professional level. This is to provide what we call numbers of digital talent for the 15 years ahead. We need about 9 million digital talent within the 15 years. It means every year we have to nurture about 600,000 digital talent. It's not easy. That's why we have to prepare, collaborating among stakeholders. Because when we have a gap on serving the digital talent, then other countries will occupy it. That is the big problem.
If they're not already occupying that area. 9 million digital talents, and Pak he is responsible for have this 1,000 startups idea. I mean, the government, Indonesian government, obviously this is part of our effort to improve our human capitals and our human talents, and just, focusing on the human talent bit. I mean, we're a huge nation. Let me get the sense of, is there a real understanding amongst us in general when it comes to what AI is, what artificial intelligence is, and now there's this generative AI. Is there that kind of, people beginning to understand and the implication as well? And how are you communicating that?
Actually, basically, now young generation already use AI in many aspects, from apps in their mobile, even our device may be already equipped with the AI. But the most important thing is how to make our society, the Indonesian people, to be a part of the technology innovation. Not only innovation, maybe the invention. Therefore, from the Cominfo, we have a program called 1,000 Startup Digital. This is to nurture the startup who will deal with the digital solution.
Yep.
There are quite plenty of problems in our country, and hopefully the founders from the startup, they will find how to solve the problem, and by utilizing the technology, and AI would be one of the key points of that.
Yeah, and we hope that using AI can speed up, things like, in all areas of our society, whether it's in the industry, in agriculture, in education, in health. And I mean, 9 million talents is, it's quite a big target. But let's go to you now, Maki-san. How do you see the world moving when it comes to in the direction of AI, especially generative AI. Where are we, and what are the main concerns? And as I said in my opening, balancing this need for constant innovation with all the ethics and the moralities and the responsible use of particularly generative AI.
Thank you very much, Iwudesi. Yes, I think it's a bit difficult to pinpoint where exactly we are around the world. I think each country has its own development challenges, and they all stand at the very different stages. So I think even from our perspective, and also some of the studies we have conducted, it's very difficult to generalize the context. However, it's already very well known, especially that in certain sectors like education, we are seeing very positive impact of AI. I mean, if, of course, and this is on the precondition that AI is applied in an ethically responsible manner, which I would also elaborate a little bit later, we see that AI has really brought a lot of potential to revolutionize education systems around the world, including Indonesia, of course, and I hope to hear more from our colleagues in the panel here. Basically, AI has really allowed like personalized learning, reaching out to those remote, students in the remote areas where otherwise traditional conventional education, system has not been able to reach. I think one of the biggest revolution brought by AI is really like assistive technology for people with disabilities. I mean, allowing how to tailor the learning modalities, the methodology to the needs of the learners. At the same time, it has also helped a lot of teachers. I mean, how to provide real-time, one-to-one, face-to-face assessment of the progress that the learners are making, adapting their learning and pedagogy at the same time. You can actually also tailor their learning materials using the AI algorithms and so on. Another, I think, positive dimensions we have seen in some countries, and hopefully that could also be applied in Indonesia, is the fact that AI has also allowed us with automated translation. And one of the challenges in countries with multi-ethnic, multicultural context, these automated translation facilities provided by AI-generated platforms for learning materials have really allowed better access to learners who do not necessarily speak the major language.
Yeah, but how do you see Indonesia? Are we harnessing the benefits of AI? Are we taking advantage of all the what AI can provide for us, particularly in the realms of education?
Right. Well, I think there's a lot of good efforts being made in Indonesia. Actually, within this so-called Southeast Asia region, I think Indonesia is one of the leading countries and trying to be really the lead countries in this field. And I am, of course, not an expert in that. I have better experts, on the panel, so we like to learn from them. But I think Indonesia has really made good efforts in harnessing and taking advantage of the technology being made available to the country. There's been a lot of good private sector involvement in this, which is actually quite important because so far AI, digital technology has been very much a private sector-led industry. But of course, the public sector has to come and keep up, especially education being 90%, a very public affair. Unfortunately, the reality is that, of course, the public sector is much way behind the actual development happening. I came across...
This is always the case.
It's always the case, yes. But it is also important to kind of rush the government a little bit now, so we have to work closely with somebody like Pak Boni. Because I came across this figure recently that last year, in 2023, there were more than 100 million per month of active access users of ChatGPT, whereas there were only one country in this whole world that actually had a national guidelines on how to utilize this.
Only one country?
In 2023.
Which is where? Which country?
Sorry, the data I didn't have. But I could say that from this year, like Australia has now introduced a new regulation to introduce ChatGPT in the classroom, but of course with proper teacher support and guidance as well.
Yeah, because using ChatGPT is obviously, it facilitates a lot of things, but it also, raises questions on, about things like cheating and using your own creativity and basically just outsourcing your entire brain and intelligence to your gadget. Just very quickly, UNESCO, and this is a platform of collaboration. That's why we have regulators. We have, of course, from the industry as well as academic researchers. How is UNESCO working together with the government, and in which in what areas in particular?
Well, actually, I have to say this panel and this topic is so timely, especially for us, because right now, as we speak, Indonesia, under the leadership of Kominfo, is undertaking this assessment exercise on measuring the readiness of the country in introducing AI. Of course, this is really something that Baponi earlier mentioned briefly, but it is called the readiness assessment methodology to assess how prepared a country is from both from 5 dimensions, from policy dimension, legislative dimension, societal dimensions, education, infrastructure, and so on, and to see how much the society, the country is ready to adopt and integrate AI in all aspects of our lives with, of course, with very ethical, responsible governance systems. So in Indonesia, this exercise has been kicked off in May. And then the report, the national report, it has gone through a series of local consultations from Aceh to Kalimantan to Bali and so on, and the report will be finalized by end of September. Yes, it's yes, it's one of the first countries.
Who puts together this assessment? Is it under UNESCO?
No, UNESCO is here to support with the guidelines of the.
So, but who does? Who
we have
makes
a
all the
national expert team, which works together with Kominfo.
Vikram, I mean, Indosat, Uridu Hutchison, and I know I've interviewed Vikram on my other program, and basically Indosat, and anything with Indo, it has big relevance, obviously, for us. And I see that there's a sense of wanting to also evolve and change from a telecommunication company to a technology company. Tell us about, harnessing AI and generative AI in order to not just, develop the company, but increase connectivity and all the benefits that Indonesia can get from AI use.
Thank you, Desi. It's an absolute honor to be with this distinguished panel and you, especially on this very important topic. Let me step back, listening to everyone here. I think one thing nobody will debate, that AI is democratizing innovation at a rapid pace. Indonesia, being the 4th largest country in terms of population in the world, early adaptation of AI in Indonesia will help move the GDP. And that calls for what you are doing today, a very strong collaboration. That calls for a right kind of what you have put together here. So, it was music to my ears listening to everyone. Now, coming to your question, at Indosat, as you rightly said, being a very iconic brand, first brand to connect Indonesia to the world 57 years back, I think we started with our North Star. So the first thing we want to do is to become an AI native telco. What does that mean? We want to embed AI on everything which we do. Not only sales, marketing, procurement, HR, everything. Once we do that, then we have the right to talk about how we work for the country in terms of being a techco. And when it comes to AI native techco, we focused on 2 things. One is the sovereign cloud and sovereign infrastructure. And I think it is very important for everyone to understand, countries after country, they have understood that anywhere between 40 to 70% workload will be sovereign. And this is where policy has to come into place, how we are preserving the heritage, culture, and security of the country and make sure sovereign. And the second one is security. I always say, whatever is connected need to be protected. And finally, being a part of Indo and Indosat, we said we want to be the shaper, the nation shaper. We want Indonesia to be on the forefront. Last week itself, we launched. When I say launch, it was not a MOU, it was not an announcement. We got live on our first set of GPU, H100, and I was not knowing that this is first in Southeast Asia. In fact, when NVIDIA told me that, it is in Jatiluhur, and before Jatiluhur, I was in Solo. This was more symbolic because we also inaugurated our first AI experience center. So, in a very collaborative manner, we want to make sure this should help us connect to our larger purpose of empowering every Indonesian. And that is what a journey we are getting into.
Okay, and it's interesting that you want to incorporate AI in everything that you do. But we know that in Indonesia, one of the challenges is just the sheer size of our country and the digital gap, not just between the West and the East, but the rural and the urban, and also the different socio-economic classes. How can a company like yours can actually increase this connectivity and make a direct impact on the the development as well as whether it's the productivity or the competitiveness of Indonesia as a nation?
Let me give you one very important example. I've been personally spending a lot of time, working global thought leaders, corporates. What I've learned is when you talk about AI or when you talk about generative AI, 10% is tool, 20% is technology, 70% is people. So it's so much to do with people. So when we talk about people, how can we democratize education? I think we have to take a quantum jump. I heard you telling that this is your AI version. I have been making my AI version speak Javanese, not only Bahasa. That's good, but there is no need to fear. Let me give you another example just to build on that. I think countries like China and India were producing a lot of engineers. What does that mean? They were doing a lot of coding. In today's version, Indonesia has an opportunity to do leapfrog. Yeah. You don't need to build coder. You need to build on top of it. So it's a pivot moment for Indonesia, using AI, using technology, and doing it at scale. So last night I was with Nicholas, such a young guy, very talented. I was very touched, I was touched because of his passion, and which is common for Indosat, that how can we democratize education at a scale? How can we have AI impact at a scale? So I think today somebody sitting in Tarakan, which is a 2.5-hour flight from Jakarta within Indonesia, can get the same thing what somebody can get in New York. So that is the power we need to unlock. And while doing that, we need to keep in mind, how do we collaborate? Can one person do it alone, or can one company do it alone? Can ComInfo do it alone? The answer is no. It's the ability to collaborate for the larger purpose, and then how do we remove friction, how policies are enabling. But this is real, Desi, and this is where we are very excited. And what we want to do is that when we talk about creating an impact, at least we want to really make more impact on how do we create skilling, how do we develop people. Yep.
And I like your word, leapfrogging. We don't need to reinvent the wheel, but how can we use the wheel more effectively so that we can actually harness the benefits, we can actually increase our productivity, improve our economy, and also basically make our people, especially in the areas which has not been touched by the technology until now, that they can keep up with the rest of the world. Now, Ayu, I'm interested from sort of an academic and just a much more sort of abstract purposes on the question, the age of AI. Should we be afraid? I mean, what's your assessment about the way that we are handling and approaching AI, and how can we harness the benefits of AI and generative AI in all walks of our lives?
Okay, thank you. So talking about AI, it means there are two things here: the usage and also the development of AI technology. AI itself is not only technology, it's actually consists of science, technology, and application. So like you said before, we don't have to reinventing the wheel. It means the AI science, the algorithm, we might not have to reinventing that wheel. We just use the algorithm. But in the level of technology and application, I think we still need to make some development in that. And I think in Indonesia, several AI startups, and also one is yours, right? There are other AI startups. They already try to do that. Even though it's not, we still need a good ecosystem, Pak, to push these startups. I mean, if we have these AI startups, it will only benefit that startup. It also will benefit all the citizens in Indonesia. And the other one is about how to use it, AI usage. I think now Indonesia, one survey said that Indonesia is the third number of AI user, AI tools, especially for the ChatGPT. Yeah. So
For good or bad? Or?
Okay. Okay, that's another question. But at least we know how to use it. At least we know how to use it. Then it comes to the AI ethics. The whole thing is called AI literacy. Know the technology behind it, even though it's only the general one. It doesn't have to be a deep one. But you know that the ChatGPT has the risk. You cannot trust all the output from the ChatGPT. You need to check again. I think UNESCO had a guideline for that, how to use safe the ChatGPT, right? So we need to check it again. So if you want to use the ChatGPT for education, it has a high risk. Even the EU AI Act classify it as a high risk. So we need these guidelines, actually. One thing that I know, the Ministry of Education now is trying to make a guidelines to use this generative AI for higher education. I hope also for the schools and everything. Because I think students in Indonesia, they already use ChatGPT sometimes to do their homework. Yeah, even,
I think we all use ChatGPT for something.
We all use it,
right
yeah,
now.
of course. But also the students, I mean, if the teacher asks you to make an essay, then the student, they can ask the ChatGPT. It has a drawback, of course. It might decrease the critical thinking, right? It makes you dependent on the technology. So we need some guidelines in that. We need to transform our education. We cannot use the old way. We have to come up with a new strategy for the education. So I think Indonesia is quite ready, actually. But we have some homeworks, especially in AI literacy. So to educate the teachers that AI technology has this kind of characteristic. That's why ChatGPT is called stochastic parrot, right? Stochastic parrot. It means that it doesn't have knowledge. It gives you words because the probability, there is no knowledge behind it. But, if you teach a parrot, then when you say Assalamualaikum, the parrot will answer you Waalaikumsalam, for example, right? Doesn't have any knowledge about that. But the parrot know that if someone say Assalamualaikum, then the parrot should answer Waalaikumsalam. It's the same with the ChatGPT. So we have to teach everyone about that. And because of that, there is some risk. For example, the hallucination effect. That's why we cannot trust ChatGPT. But this homework, I think we need to do it together. Not only the ministry, but also the university, the association, and everyone.
And also, I think it would, we have to redefine what it means to educate and what education is, and the role of teachers, the role of students, when students no longer go to the teacher for the answers. They can just Google everything now. But just very quickly on the other benefits that we can harness from the use of AI. There's just, like Vikram said, AI is, and it's going to be in everything that we do, the same way that Wi-Fi is now so embedded in our DNA. Without the Wi-Fi, we cannot do anything. So at some point, without AI, we cannot. But what are particularly for Indonesia, that we
Yes.
can really use AI so that we can leapfrog and be competitive with other countries?
Yes, yes. One thing that I believe is that human with AI will defeat human without AI. So not only human, I'm saying about an organization, a company, or even country. So a country where everyone trying to use AI to boost the productivity, it will defeat the country without using AI. So I think it's our homework together to use AI to boost our productivity. Even I know there is a big company. The director asked all the employees to study AI in 2 months. So every day, 1 hour. So the idea is to boost the productivity. So the company is a hiring freeze, but still have a good productivity because they use AI as the tools to help them.
Okay, that's very interesting. But I was born at an age when everything is analog. We go through the telephones, and then we go through the really big brick size, mobile phones, and then we have our email, and then SMS. But now, it's like anything goes with AI and generative AI. Now, Miklos is born when, we're all already online. I'm sure you have a different perspective, and perhaps, should we be afraid of AI? And if we are, what should we be afraid of? And then how do young people, what's their perspective on the way that AI, particularly the use of generative AI, is coming along? Miklos.
Thank you very much, Ibu Desi. I think I'd like to firstly start by saying how hopeful I feel after hearing everyone's different commitments towards collaboration. I think the future of Indonesia is in good hands with everyone willing to work together for our collective futures. And I think we young people very much recognize that. I think in terms of AI, I think the first truth that we have to get out of the way is simply the truth that Ibu Ayu just previously mentioned. The fact that humans with AI are going to outcompete humans without AI. And I think therefore, young people like myself, young people like us, we have practically no choice but to embrace AI and practically use it for different advantages for whatever direction that might be. But where I see that there is a lot of responsibility on our shoulders are two things. Firstly, of course, in the regulation side of things, which I think Pak Bodhi is very capably handling, but also on the development side of things. Because ultimately, like what Ibu Ayu just previously mentioned as well, AI is almost like a parrot. LLMs, they don't actually have that knowledge. They just have billions or trillions of context that they practically memorize the answers for the specific thing that you're asking. I think in that way, the homework that I personally have, especially in the world of education, is how do I make the content that is being said by the AI that I produce very relevant and accurate. And I think one specific way in which we can regulate how AI is saying, and one specific direction that AI is actually going with a lot of new technologies, not just mine, but something like Perplexity, for example, is the use of sourcing in AI. I think the more that AI sources from specific sources, like it'll say, for example, I've used Perplexity before, it's a common platform. Perplexity, when you ask it a question, it only searches through trusted websites and trusted research papers. And when it outputs something, it ensures that everything you say has a specific source that comes from it that you can trust. So I think that to sum it all up, how young people feel about AI is at the moment they need guidance. We need to ensure that from both the legal and the development side, AI is going to help them develop. And I think they'll follow along regarding what we build. And as long as we build a technology that helps them better than something that might not help them as much, something about like my personal bias towards Perplexity over ChatGPT, I think young people will embrace that and hopefully we'll go towards a future that's brighter for all of us.
Okay, I like it's also quite scary. Human with AI will defeat humans without AI. But when you say a defeat, you don't want it to be like some kind of war, because gaps already exist. Just everybody, every individual is different, and every country is different, like you said. But particularly when it comes for guidelines and policies, especially for you young developers, you have lots of ideas, you want to be innovative. But what should be regulated and what should just be, okay, this is not, you don't need to regulate this. Allow innovators to create whatever it is. But in your eyes, what should be, say for example, in education, what should be regulated and what should be just allow developers and entrepreneurs to actually build whatever it is that they want?
I think from my perspective, firstly, I want to provide a lot of credit for a lot of the older people in my lives who've kind of guided me in these things. Because I think, speaking from a pure developer standpoint, we love to develop a lot of different things. Like if we can make the craziest thing possible, we'd love to create that craziest thing possible. And I think that the eagerness is something that we should continue to embody as young people, but it's something that we have to keep in check, especially with the guidance of, I think, the older ones in the room. And I think the specific guidance that I talk about is the understanding of different problems. Young people like myself, I think, to be honest, like my expertise is not necessarily in education to begin with, it was in AI. But because I got to meet, through the United Nations, for example, so many different individuals in education who've taught me what the problems of education are, I've been able to channel this energy of mine towards that direction and hopefully create a social impact. And I think similarly, the type of regulation and development is not something that is incredibly hardline in the way that, oh, this is not allowed or this is not allowed, but rather I think the collaboration that I think we speak about a lot regarding, hey, you know, rather than doing this, I think one better way for you to make more impact, or if someone like in the startup world is like make more revenue or all that different things, is going this and this and this. And ultimately, if it's sustainable, if it's helps the environment, helps social people, helps socially, and helps the financials, I think everybody wins. So we look forward to the guidance and the collaboration in that sense.
Okay, because I like your faith in the older generations. But I mean, for me, I don't have any faith in the older generations because we're not that literate. We're not, you know, we're not digital natives. We're still struggling, you know, in how to use this. Especially for most of us here, we don't know how to code. We don't know how to program. We don't know, you know, we know how to use. So let's get back to, I think this goes back to the real question of AI and understanding AI and should we be afraid of it or not, is what do you think, especially for a country like Indonesia, like Bu Maki said, you know, every country is different. What should be sort of regulated and how, and what should it be like, you know, allow Miklos to come up with his own ideas and solve problems to solutions that the digital people cannot solve on their own?
Yes, thank you, Bridesi. So for the time being, we haven't planned to create the regulation, strict regulation on the AI, but maybe the feedback from the UNESCO will give us some insight about what is the future, what should be taking care, because to avoid any misuse or a drawback from the AI. But frankly speaking, this is like, regulation is like a brake and acceleration in the car. So whenever there isn't any negative impact, so let the innovation, invention can be running very fast, such as the young generation made. So, but we have to consider maybe how to create a better society from the solution that will be made by startup industry, will benefit to our nation. So we are still waiting. Budesi, please, because we have to work together, and also the result from the survey from the UNESCO will give a lot of contribution to our next regulation.
I mean, we know the challenges. Infrastructure is a challenge. Connectivity is a challenge. Literacy is a challenge. And also, you know, things like, you know, frauds and, you know, all the dangers of online misinformation and so on and so forth. Let's come up with some ideas for solutions to these problems. Bu Maki.
Excuse me. Yeah, thank you. Solutions. I think that's what we're really still trying to explore and find. A lot of countries still lack proper regulations and measures to address those flaws and challenges that AI is now posing on our lives. One sector, I mean, education is actually probably one of the sectors that has been more openly, positively embracing the AI introduction. Of course, with all the challenges at hand, at the same time, we're trying to make the best out of it. And I think part of it was probably COVID that helped us to accept this. But another sector which has been quite apprehensive of the digital technology invading their sector is culture and also creative industry. Many of our countries in this region, but also probably around the world, I mean, the copyright laws have not really kept up with all these AI technologies. So the fear is among all these creative artists is how do they protect their creativities?
So far, the solutions, we're still not quite sure, but we know what the problems and the concerns are. Vikram, what would you say are the main challenges and maybe the examples of solutions that technology can actually give in order to answer some of these problems? Especially like, the human capitals, the literacy, and so on.
Look, the biggest risk of AI is not doing AI. We all need to understand that. Not doing AI is the biggest risk. Guardrail policies are evolving and it is needed, responsible AI, because what I want all of us to understand, AI is not new, but Gen AI has brought the adaptation of AI on the forefront. There are a lot of money getting invested. Think of a time where steam engine was introduced. Think of a time when internet was introduced. We are going through that same phase. So it is real, and we want countries, and in my case, company, and that is why we said we want to be a AI native telco. So one thing, I keep getting this question on my town hall, will it replace my job? The answer is no. We have to invest. First, we have to believe in ourselves. We have to go up the value chain. So we have to invest. So this is one point I want to make. The point which I'm trying to say is, you need to be in control. What does sovereign mean? Sovereign mean young Indonesian being in control of what is happening. So that is why, I was really telling my team that when we are doing something and when we say sovereign is not only about in Indonesia. It has to be by Indonesia. It has to be set of talented Indonesian people in control of those tools, technology. So I think it is extremely important that things are moving at a rapid pace. We allow innovation to shape up. We allow creativity to shape up. We should not be scared. We need guardrails. We need policies. But those policies should help us create positive impact for Indonesian at scale. That should be the thought process.
Okay, maybe just quickly, are you, how to actually develop these talents that can be in control of their tools and understand how to use their tools, so we're not creating something that is full of biases or hallucinations, whatever.
Okay.
And how to do it.
Okay, before that, I think one thing that we need to do is to define AI vision of our country. There is no AI vision until now. There is no AI roadmap, whether in the development or in the usage. We need that. Then after that, we can divide it into several sectors. For example, the talent.
Yep.
Yeah. So how to build this talented AI engineer, or perhaps only AI user is okay, because if you use AI to help you to do your job, you will increase your productivity, and it's a good one. So the first thing that I want to focus is the vision. Every country, other country has a vision. They want to become #1 in the Southeast Asia, for example. But Indonesia still doesn't have that vision yet. I'm waiting from the government, actually. What is the vision of this
You're waiting
AI
from the current government or the next government?
Both.
Just very quickly on how to develop these talents that can be
the idea is the
control
AI
of
literacy, actually. Cominfo already conducts several training. Actually, I was one of the teachers also there to train the students. I think graduated from the university to master artificial intelligence. So this kind of works. I think we should push that kind of works. And then also the guidelines of AI in every school, in every university. For example, ITB now, all the students, they need to study AI. Not to build the AI, but to use AI to boost the productivity. So if all the schools and university do that, I mean, they try to train the students to be able to use AI for any kind of product or projects. I think it will leapfrog, you know. It will make our talent become better talent.
So education, particularly at the younger level.
Yeah, okay, not only younger level then.
But the teachers.
Yeah, the teachers also. We need to
maybe actually the teachers more than the students. Miklas, what does it take to make somebody like you? I mean, we need to replicate it. We need 9 million of you. Papua mentioned.
I think the very first thing is definitely on the social aspect, just meeting amazing people like yourselves and learning from these interactions. But I guess as an engineer and a nerd, I'll talk from a technology perspective on how to hopefully build up the talent in Indonesia, because I think for the reason why I'm in the education space, or sometimes I call it the upskilling space, is because I think it is the most pressing need of our time. By 2025, the official number by the UNHCR is that 50% of people need to be reskilled. And I think that's why, once again, I am very happy to hear the commitments from Bodhi and Bumaki regarding the priorities and upskilling. But before I dive down into, I think, the superpowers of AI within, I think, upskilling and education, I think I'd like to talk about the problem of it. And the biggest problem in education that I found was its lack of investment. And when I say investment, firstly, I speak from financial. I think oftentimes, like, a lot of people start to think of education as a cost rather than an investment, where it's like, sorry about Indonesian. Well, we're just using this money, like it's a waste, but it's what has to be done. But they don't actually expect returns. People don't oftentimes get better as a result of education. And I think socially as well, the social investment aspect of it, I think is a really big part, where people also view education more as a certification rather than a way to invest in themselves to upskill. And I think this is the core problem of education that I personally heard, I think, from people, mentors like, for example, like Ibu Maki from Pagikram and so on and so forth, that I built my technology. And that's where I found the superpowers of AI. The superpower of AI is to address these three things in education. Firstly, personalization, which I think we discussed, efficiency, and lastly, relevance. So on the personalization side of things, AI makes education no longer binary. Where in education, previously, things are either correct or wrong. AI understands natural, or specifically large language models understand natural language and are therefore able to evaluate people's understanding. They're able to test if people are actually understanding this, and they can thus tailor their education based on every single person's needs. So that's the first superpower of AI. The second part is in efficiency, because I think in order for Indonesia to reach, I think, 600, or is it 6 million? 600,000, right. 600,000 talents. The bottleneck here is the lack of teachers, right, and the lack of manpower in order to do it. I think one of the possibilities with AI is able to automate a lot of these tasks that teachers have to do, that they're burdened with, that are honestly very machine-like. I think one very common one that maybe you can support me here, that teachers always complain to me about, is marking. Teachers spend up to 40% of their time on things like creating questions and marking. And these are things that AI can do, so that teachers can focus on the human element of education, which I personally think is the beauty of it. And the third part, and I think this is the most overlooked part in education, is the relevance of education. I think people are constrained about the idea that education comes from textbooks or from learning videos. I think that if I'm reading an interview, like Ibu Desi Anwar's book, which she very kindly provided to me, or an article from CNN Indonesia, and I learned something new there, I think that's a form of learning. And I think that's sometimes a form of learning that's more relevant for my life than even something from textbooks. The power of AI is that if you go in ChatGPT right now and you upload a document and you ask it to explain something, it's able to teach you anything you want. And it's able to teach you in the personalized manner you do before. So overall, the power of AI in education is to provide a personalized education that has relevant results so that you can actually apply what you've learned in real life.
Okay, great. I mean, I think we should give him big hands. I mean, he's coming up with real, hopefully implementable solutions. I'd like to ask from the audience, yes, maybe I'll take 3 at a time. Yeah, we have 2 there, and then maybe one more from here. Yes. All right. Can we have the microphone? Just very quickly introduce yourself and who would you like to answer the question, or if you have
Hello,
any
my name
comments.
is Anjas Chandra. I'm from Korea. So coincidentally, we partnered with UNESCO and Ministry of CIT Cominfo for the whole 4 months with the recent UNESCO RAM. So I'm not picking any specific person. So my question is, we have this quite big noise. So it's a Pandora box where AI has been quite useful for one-to-one. So in fact, we can predict earthquakes 2 weeks before. However, some researchers, some academia, their product research are based on 0 to 1. So the problem with AI was the academic dishonesty, the academic integrity. Most of K-12, in fact, and even postgraduate researchers, they have used ChatGPT and AI for the misuse of their research. So this is quite a big challenge for us. In fact, most of academia that we discuss is they had an easy year compared to us. They had an easy research base. So it's a different kind of supervised learning. It's a different kind of education systems right now. So anyone can answer from this perspective. So.
Okay. All right. Maybe we can just gather the questions. Very important. Academic dishonesty. My goodness. You know.
Okay, I'm Karim from
Yes.
Aptiknas, Indonesian ICT Entrepreneurs Association. I have 2 questions for Pak Boni from government side. So I'd like to highlight the readiness of infrastructure in Indonesia in the context of supporting the growth and development of the AI industry. As we know, research and incubation activities for the embryo of AI startup or company really need affordable AI infrastructure. Yeah. So unfortunately, until today, the condition is not as expected. Infrastructure for AI research and development is still very expensive. Yeah. So are there any special strategies or initiative from the government, especially from Cominfo in this regard? And the second question, we all agree, yeah, it is no longer for us to debate whether AI is an opportunity or threat. Yeah. The presence of technology from the history always come with 2 sides, yeah, dark side and the bright side. Yeah. Now AI have when we're talking about the AI threat or opportunity in the other side, I think 2 months ago, yeah, the dark side already released a scam, yeah, a fraud GPT. Yeah. Very terrible. So already released the fraud GPT. So the preset of technology always bring 2 impacts. Yeah. The first one is to eliminate, and the second is to elevate. Yeah. In certain fields and industry, elimination is inevitable. Yeah. So it's only a matter of time when the economic calculation is achieved. I think the human labor will be replaced by robotic. Okay. Yeah. So what strategies can be implemented to address the potential of the job losses, and everybody will be eliminated in this AI
dealing with the dark side, yes. Dealing with Thanos' problems. Okay. Maybe we can have one more so that we can.
Yes. Thanks for having me. I'm Eddie. I'm from Suryadama Group, which is a Japan-invested robotic company. So I heard a lot of positive tones today, but I just want to highlight that you mentioned that human with AI versus human without AI. But from my job perspective, that every day we come to a factory floors and talk to the owner of the factory to replace the human with robots. So one of the biggest challenges in the future with Gen AI is Gen AI on robotics, which is robot with AI versus against human with AI or without AI. So, good point. Yeah, so I just want to highlight that. So what's your point of view and how ready is our country and government and society?
Good question. How ready is the world? How ready is the planet? Okay, let's start with you, I know about Bonnie. I see smoke coming out of your head. But that's very important concerns here. The academic dishonesty, which is, even without ChatGPT, dishonesty is there, but this amplifies the dishonesty to a level. And there is also on infrastructure that is for AI ready, as well as how do we deal with the dark side of AI. And it's not human versus without AI and human versus, it's going to be robots that are AI plus robots without AI, maybe, I don't know. Go ahead, Bonnie, and then maybe afterwards, please, if any of you want to take up some of these questions, you just...
Okay, there are quite plenty of questions, but I'll choose just only one of it. Sorry. Maybe let me focus on the... there is an interesting question about how to boost the industry and then the infrastructure for AI. Yeah, that is the biggest question because it's not cheap, it is expensive investment. Some other country, such as Singapore, Middle East, they already put the strategy of national strategy on AI and including the investment. So it is clearly understand we need to work together, not only from the government side, but also from the industrial operators. And I'm sure there is some agenda from Indosat. It's a part of the AI investment. So there would be a place to become like AI Center of Excellence in the future. So hopefully this can be a place for startup industry to test their product to be fit in the market. As well as there are also some collaboration nowadays. Our institution with IBM, for example, they have quite plenty of use case. So the startup can utilize the case modeling and everything from AI to accelerate their solution fit to the market. So there is kind of collaboration among stakeholders. I think this is very necessary.
Yes, at the end of the day, this whole thing, it costs money and somebody needs to invest in it, and also, you need to have the public-private partnership.
Yes.
Anybody else want you, Fikram,
I think,
any of these very, very challenging questions you'd like to tackle?
Let me just build on what Doni said on infrastructure. I think, yes, it is not cheap, but the good thing is that it needs private-public partnership. And one of the important things is learning from other parts of the world and also in the company or in the country. AI works when it is horizontal. When you go AI as vertical, it will not scale up. That is why we have been partnering with ComInfo. We are taking their guidance and we are also sharing all the knowledge on Center of Excellence. So Center of Excellence will have 6 pillars. One of them is sandbox, second is skilling human talent, third is working with researcher. But I want to encourage everyone here. Today, we have the infrastructure in Indonesia. Today, we have the GPU ready, available. And my focus is to develop Indonesia early adaptation. So I'm also working with ITB Bandung. In fact, one of the things which we are doing on cybersecurity training. See, so I think we all need to come forward and start working together. There is a call for action instead of just waiting. So we need to work with that mindset to ensure that the whole spirit of Gotong Royong, is lived truly for this and with the purpose. See, financials will follow. Nothing is CSR, nothing is charity. Financials will follow. But the objective has to be the larger purpose. If that is lost, if you are working with a valuation mindset, startup will fail. If Indosat works to be more tactical, we will not scale up. So I think my learning is, let's stay true to the larger purpose. Technology is an enabler, tool is an enabler. And if you can really identify that this is the problem which I'm trying to solve and we want to do it at scale and do it at a cost which is manageable. The last example, Desi, I'll give you. We keep talking about ChatGPT. AI is not just ChatGPT. ChatGPT is just a small piece. So at Indosat, we are working on launching the Bhasa LLM. We call it Sahabat AI. And I invite for collaboration. This is not about Indosat. This is for Indonesia. And we are now investing to scale. And I invite everyone, how we can do citizen services, how we can really give financial inclusion in a very simple manner. People are using TikTok, but they don't have financial inclusion. If you can profile them properly, if you can educate them, just understand the positive impact.
Okay, good. Well, thank you very much. We should give Vikram a big hand here. And so this is exactly what this forum is about. This is a forum about collaboration, finding solutions, and also just working together to, actually create, making things happen. Well, Maki, some of the questions are still not answered. Which ones would you like to choose?
Well, thank you. I think I would actually address about the academic integrity part as well. I would also like to hear from Ibu, because I shouldn't be also saying this without the presence of the Ministry of Education here. But I think the issue about ChatGPT, impacting the academic integrity and plagiarism and so on, it's actually not just about the AI issue. I think there's much more underlying fundamental issue here, because unfortunately, as our studies, have shown, that there's a lot of academic integrity issues still in Indonesia. I hope you can testify that at the higher education level, which means that maybe it's also that AI has brought a very good opportunity for us to look back where we are lagging behind in terms of general social economic development. That's why I think for UNESCO, when we also conduct the readiness assessment, we want to see not only, it's really trying to see how prepared and ready the society is to accept AI in the form that we have today, and if not, what do we have to do to fill that gap so that the country is going to be ready to adapt AI in a responsible, ethical manner. The other thing that I think one area that is really lacking still, and which is coming up in many of the surveys that we are conducting, that there is serious lack of research and development in AI still. And in Indonesia, actually, we found that only about $2 billion in gross expenditure have been put in R&D, out of which specifically on AI is only $420 million, which is much behind the global average and also one of the lowest among the Southeast Asian countries. Yeah.
Okay, but are you?
Yes, about the integrity.
Well, so let me just say, if you're dishonest, you'll find any ways to be dishonest. The questions about dishonesty during exams, this is an age-old question. It's a human thing, So let's not blame AI for our academic dishonesty.
I agree with Budesi.
That's a mental shift that we need to, create honest people. And I don't think, we can't make ourselves honest. No AI can make us honest.
Yes.
But can we also answer the dark side of it?
But before that, I want to point out about the dishonesty. It's not only the students, but also, like you said, the academician also. There are some issues in that one. So there are some articles actually, generated by this AI and then being published some places and everything. So when you said about that, well, I agree. Okay, the thing is that the law enforcement and also the education, because since the beginning, in the primary education, I think everybody should be educated about the integrity is very important. This is number one in our ethics. We don't have the integrity, that we cannot be anyone.
Miklos, the dark side, and also it's not about humans with AIs against humans without AIs, but humans with AIs versus AI robots.
I think I'll try to tackle the humans with AIs and without AIs part in conjunction actually with slight bit of academia. And I think I want to offer a different perspective to it. This is something I was actually inspired by Sam Altman for, because when he came to Indonesia just last year, he mentioned something to me that struck a chord. He said that AI was similar to how the calculator was back in the 60s. When a calculator came to education, math teachers all over the world were thinking, this is it, this is the end of math education. What's the point of anything anymore? What actually happened? What happened was that math education was unlocked. the capability and things that we could do in math now are much, much higher than they used to be before the calculator was invented. And I think as a result, the expectations of people with calculators became so much higher than what it was before. And I think the alternative perspective that I have is not necessarily on the academic dishonesty part, but what can we expect out of humans now that they have AI? The answer is not quite clear yet. I think it's still, as AI develops, we'll have the clear answer. But I think that the answer to your question eventually is something that will be revealed based on our interactions with AI and how we can best leverage it. And when we have that, what's the word for it? That benchmark of how humans with AI can operate, that's when we can do a proper head-to-head between humans with AI versus machines with AI. And I think actually I will touch a bit on the dark side of AI, and I want to shed some light on a part of AI called AI explainability, which is something that I've been quite recently, very recently hearing a lot about. Last couple months ago, I was at the AI for Good Summit over in Geneva. It was organized by the UN ITU, and I got to meet a lot of my personal heroes. Sam Altman was there, Geoffrey Hinton was there, even some royalty was there, so it was really cool. But one of the things that I really appreciated about the conference is their focus on AI explainability. Because right now, AI explainability is one of the black boxes of AI. Even all the engineers who built it, even Sam Altman himself, realizes that one of the biggest problems is we don't actually understand how a lot of AIs think. A lot of LLMs, they think for some reason and they have an output, but we don't actually understand why. And I think once we understand why, and once the reason, like a lot of institutions around the world are focused on the research on AI explainability, or XAI as it's called. I think we'll slowly understand why a lot of these bad things happen as a result of AI. And once we understand why AI does these things, we can find a lot of stopgaps or solutions on how to, let's say, prevent a lot of the darker sides of AI. So that's my personal take.
Just the idea of AI and thinking, I find that really disturbing. That, I don't even understand, I don't even know what you're thinking, but imagine, when AI starts to think, and when they do think for themselves, we don't know the kind of results that they're going to get. We have one, yes. Maybe at the front, Pete, Steve, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, my name is Steve from Indosat. So I heard a lot of ideas this morning, so thank you, Bu Desi, for bringing up these wonderful panels. I only have comments because we talk about dark side, but we haven't talked more deep on the bright side. One thing that I caught up, a phrase from Mikolos, you mentioned about you are, as a nerd, you are looking for problems. And now, Bu Desi tried to link how we can touch the rural with the implementation of AI. I might have an idea for Pak Boni. Pak Boni, you have 1,000 startup. Why not creating that 1,000 startup platform for these developers to find real problems that can touch people in rural, people in all cities of Indonesia, so they can exactly implement the real AI for their own problems.
Okay.
I think that's
great input. Alex, you wanted to add something? We could make it brief.
Alexander from Council of Digital Transformation, Ministry of Industry.
Can you stand up, Alex?
Yes, it was a very interesting discussion. I just want to point up some like sandbox, AI sandbox, for instance. Why there is no AI city like in Zug in Switzerland? They have like crypto city, a city that you can implement all the AI without any bothering with the regulation and so on. The things that also investment, like what you mentioned, actually. Aptiknas, Korika, and One3, we are doing a very good collaboration this year by investing one of the startup in AI. So we do have for the first time, pitching for AI startups. And then I want to close one thing. I do mentoring for some AI startup from Korea, and actually the idea is just similar to Indonesia. So I think you have the same zero Terra, which is the same ideas. Technology is there, just let's compete. I mean, technology is there. I think the brain is just similar. I mean, there is no brain of Korea is better than us and so on. So I think this is the time where we can leapfrog, like mentioned. And again, compliments to Vikram. I do really appreciate that you support our startups in some smart city and so on.
Okay, thank you, Alex.
You.
This is some really good ideas. Anybody from this side? Just one last, perhaps, just quick comment.
Question?
Yes, we can just stand up and introduce yourself very quickly.
I'm Kevin. I'm from Quantum. We build AI solutions for security and defense industry. When we talk about AI sovereignty, we must think about the defensive mode, what we want to create. But even though it's vital, we have limited resource. So we need to choose like which things we should develop for Indonesia's AI future.
Okay.
Will it be data, talent, infrastructure, application platform, or models?
All of the above.
Or all of the above.
Okay, so we have a couple of comments and feedback. Thank you so much. And then a question of, which you start with. So in this round, perhaps, let's start with you and also make it as your sort of final remarks. What would you like for the next government to prioritize when it comes to whether it's regulating or developing the AI industry? Let's start with you, Vikram, since you're closer to me.
I think, especially from the government, we need to understand one of the enabler for creating infrastructure, and I'm a very strong believer of sovereign infrastructure. I'm personally, very clear on that. Is policies around data center and power, green power, how it is complied with ESG. We want Indonesia to be competitive because, countries are competing against each other. What we don't want is Indonesia to be viewed as a consumption country. We want Indonesia to be a infrastructure and a developer country. So policies around that will be very important, and that will lead to public-private partnership and creating impact at scale.
Okay. Miklos, maybe you want to answer some of the questions, but also the kind of things that you'd like to see the next government deal with and prioritize.
I think firstly I want to thank Stephen, for your remarks. I would say that is from a pure startup perspective here, I think the most difficult thing for a startup is finding the use case, because ultimately as engineers you come up with a lot of theories or ideas of what might help people, but there are other agencies, like potentially 1,000 startups, that might have a better idea of what will really help people and provide a lot of value. I think that on that note, I would say that what I hope from the next government is I want them to task us young people or the talents of Indonesia regarding what we're to do next, because they have a keen understanding of what this country needs. There's a lot of different industries I think we've mentioned that require or can use the help of AI to transform it. And I think we of the younger generation are prepared to take on that task. So that is my message.
Okay, great. But are you?
My message for the next government, to push the AI ecosystem, to support the AI ecosystems. So not only the regulation, not only the stick, but also the carrot. So the vision, the AI vision, the AI roadmap, which sector, which part, is it the data, is it the talent, is it the infrastructure? We need to define it and then push the ecosystem so everybody, every stakeholder, we can move together. Thank you.
Okay. Bumaki.
Thank you. I think one thing that I'd like to say that AI per se is not the harm. Yeah, AI, the technology is not the bad thing. It's how people will make use of it, and because of that, I do sincerely hope that in Indonesia and with the next government that AI introduction in the country does not get limited to technological conversation, but because more on the conversation how technology can help our lives, to improve our lives, and to make sure that this country becomes the world's largest democratic, inclusive, and equity country as much as possible. And for that, of course, we need some guidance and visions. And so I am personally looking forward to the results of the RAM, which will inform the policy and vision of the government of Indonesia, which will be taken forward in the next government. And also to engage many stakeholders as much as possible, because it's very clear from all these surveys and studies that we have carried out that this topic is really a topic that cannot be solved by one development sector. it has to be a collaboration of all sectors and public, private, as we've been already hearing so many times during this panel, and also between individuals, and also at all levels of the government, from national to subnational to very local level. Because in the end, I think at the very beginning, Vikram was saying that 70% societal people, yes? Whether Indonesia will succeed in its AI introduction is all depending on how the people of Indonesia will accept, accommodate, and adapt this technology to their lives. Thank you.
Okay, Pak Bonnie. It's a tall order for the next government because, you know, vision is very important, but the quality of our leadership is, I think, supremely important. We have to have leaders that actually understand what we're talking about, the implications, and also how to harness the benefits of AI for the betterment of everybody. But Bonnie, your own personal thoughts.
Okay, Budesi, I think the key word for all our discussion is how to collaborate all the stakeholders, because there are some aspect of infrastructure, investment, digital talent, including, as well as the regulation. However, just like other tools, I think AI, we have to understand it can be like a risk, but we have to be careful to exercise how the AI can give benefit to our society. We are still waiting for the result. And secondly, there is a beautiful quotes from the address during the G7 summit. Leaders must take a lead in making AI human-centric, so that human decision always remain made by humans and not a machine. So this is like a message for robotic, comparing the equipped with the Gen AI or not, but again, human behind it will be the key factors. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Big hands, please, everybody. Personally, at the end of the day, I mean, AI, as with anything, it's just a tool. It's how we use it. It's like they say, you know, a knife, you can use it to cut bread, and you can also use it to harm somebody. It's the human behind it. And I think when we talk about ethics, it's at the end of the day, it's up to us. If we're an ethical human being, you know, we will not be doing anything wrong, or we will not cheat. And I think this is a problem of, you know, us in a society, and also for the government to be role models when it comes to ensuring whether it's clean, good governance, whether it's, you know, transparency, no corruption, and so on and so forth. And the AI and the generative AI aspect of it should follow, you know. If we have a purpose, if we have a vision, right, Vikram, then everything else will follow, including the financing. So it's our intention, and I think it's extremely important behind all this. So thank you very much once again, everybody. We've heard from our distinguished panel. We must harness AI's capabilities to propel our nation forward while ensuring that its deployment is inclusive, ethical, and also aligned with our values, the good values. Of course, this is not just a task for governments or corporations, but a collective responsibility that involves every sector of our society. So to our speakers, Pak Bonnie Pujianto, Bumaki Katsuno Hayashikawa, Vikram Sinha, Ayu Purwaryanti, and Miklos Sunario. Once again, thank you so much for sharing your insights and also your expertise and your visions for the future of AI in Indonesia. And of course, to you, our audience, would like to extend my thanks to each and every one of you for your active participation and engagement. Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. The age of AI is already upon us, and it's up to us to shape it. Collaboration is key to producing good policies. Let's keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Thank you, and see you in the next Big Idea Forum. Bye-bye.
baru saja menyaksikan The Big Idea Forum in association with